Thank you, Daniel. That was very kind of you.
Very welcome.
Mayor and Council, tonight going to be talking about a property at 555 North 3rd Street. People know it better as the Cohen Recycling Facility that is across the river from the Spooky Nook mixed-use development. We have been working with a development group out of Dublin, Ohio for quite a while now. The two primary principals for this group, Crawford Hoying, is Brent Crawford and Bobby Hoying. I think many of you would recognize Bobby Hoying's name. He was a quarterback for Ohio State back in the early and mid-1990s. The person I do speak with the most is Matt Starr, the gentleman that is on the right-hand side of the screen. But so this is the team for Crawford Hoying. It's who they are. What they have done, I have a couple different slides. Their signature development is known as Bridge Park in Dublin, Ohio. It's on the east side of the river. You can see the pedestrian bridge that was built by the city of Dublin for this development the last 5 to 7 years. But Bridge Park is about a 20-acre mixed-use development. It has hospitality like hotels and bars. It has quite a few apartments. It has condominiums. It has office space, so it's truly the true definition of a mixed-use development. More locally, Crawford Hoying owns the Banks development on the Ohio River in Cincinnati between Paul Brown Stadium and the Red Stadium. I believe they own everything in between that the two stadiums except for the General Electric building that was built in 2012-2013 era. Also, they own several properties in downtown Dayton. One of them that they just completed was the AC Marriott in downtown Dayton. But if you've been to a Dayton Dragons baseball game, they own quite a few apartment complexes in and around that stadium area. So that is who they are. They also do development outside of Ohio, but I just wanted to highlight three that people may be familiar with. They have approached the city to purchase and develop the Cohen Recycling site, and I have a map that I'll show you in a moment, in exchange for a $3 million forgivable loan from the city. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on that forgivable loan and what that exactly means also on a later slide. So the development timeline that is proposed within the development agreement is that they would close on the property later this summer in August of 2023. They have an agreement with the Cohen Recycling office that they would give them time to finish their operations and relocate off the site. So that would mean that Crawford Hoying would start site work and demolition on that property at some time in 2024, and that construction for what they're calling phase one would start in 2025. Pursuant to the development agreement that is proposed, they would have to complete phase one, or the first $50 million of development, by December of 2026. And by 2036, they would need to have completed a minimum of $150 million of development to have the full $3 million loan forgiven. The way that is structured is, as an example, if they did not finish phase one by December of 2026, that they would have to repay the city the first of the $3 million. So there are target deadlines in $50 million increments for them to perform, so that forgivable loan would convert into a grant. If they do perform and produce the $150 million of development by 2036, the city would reimburse the general fund, which would be the source of this $3 million, through a tax increment deal that we would have. So we would collect 25% of the tax increment, and that is how we would repay ourselves. So if they don't perform, they would have to pay us back. If they do perform, the city is being paid back through the 25% of tax increment that's being collected. So phase one would consist of 176 apartments, 120 key hotel, 5,000 square feet of commercial space, and 6 townhomes. Just to give you an idea of scale, if you took the Markham Apartments and the Rossville Flats and combined those two projects, that would be approximately 176 apartment units, just to give you an idea. So those two projects would be equivalent to 176 apartment units. The 120 key hotel, that is the exact size of our Courtyard by Marriott in downtown Hamilton. It's a 120 room hotel. Again, just to give you an idea of size. 5,000 square feet of commercial space. If you took Casual Pint, The Poorhouse and Chicken Cone at the Markham development, that is 5,000 square feet of commercial space, and the 6 townhomes. Now, the development agreement has contemplated other uses that are not included in phase 1, but just to give a couple examples, there is a food hall that would be a part of this development, a minimum 6 restaurant food hall. So if you've been to Hilliard, Ohio actually has a great food hall in their downtown. Dublin, Ohio has a food hall in the Bridge Park development. But think of it almost as a fancy food court where you would have many restaurants under a single roof with common dining space. They've also, the development agreement also contemplates green space, it contemplates rooftop amenities. They really want to activate the river in that immediate area. So we would work with them to provide a river access, very similar to what we have by the River's Edge Amphitheater, a path like that would get you to the bike path, because they want people coming on the bike path up to the development, or people that want to kayak or do stand-up paddle boarding on the Great Miami River to have that type of access. So 17.7 acres, that is the site that would have to have the $150 million of development. Again, I think 150 is the number they wanted in the development agreement for the targets, but I'll just give you a quick example. I did ask them about Bridge Park, because the Bridge Park development in Dublin is just a little bit bigger than this 17.7 acre site. They said that development agreement said that they had to have $200 million of investment, and last time I talked to them, they said they had quadrupled that amount. They were at over $800 million of investment on that site. So again, $150 million is just a target for the reimbursement. I truly believe that you're going to see a substantial more investment on that site. I know that we had talked many years ago at the council level about why Spooky Nook was important, and I think this is probably a good example of why it was, because the development that we're seeing on this site, but for Spooky Nook being across the river, this would never have happened. In the coming council meetings, as council is aware, but the public is not, we're going to be seeing a lot of development agreements, a lot of development site plans up and down the MLK corridor and also on the High and Main corridor. Again, I think it's a good indication of what's happening. Finally, I'm just going to say that the thing that is interesting, if you follow any type of financial news, with interest rates that have gone up, with some inflationary pressure, with some other things, a lot of development in areas has slowed down. I would say that our deal flow today is probably more robust than at any point. Tim Urban likes the word deal flow, but our deal flow today is probably more robust than at any point since I've been here. And I think that's a testament to our strong team and the fact that people find Hamilton, Ohio to be a very desirable place to deploy capital. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
will they be using some shells of the building, or will they be taking everything down?
So we certainly have time, because of the Cohen operations, to have a lot of conversations. They have provided some various concept site plans on how they would like to locate hotel, apartments, et cetera. Obviously, the river is going to be an amenity to them, but everything in phase 1 preserves a lot of the buildings that currently exist. So if you think of the current operations of the Cohen Recycling, outside of maybe some random storage, that would have some of the demolition would be in what I would call the southwest corner of that site. But the primary buildings would not be touched until they had an opportunity to have conversations with the Architectural Design Review Board. They've already reached out. They want to have conversations with the German Village neighborhood. They want to have conversations with Hamilton City Schools. I know that they have had some conversations already with Butler Tech. So they have plenty of time before anything's going to happen to have those conversations and make a determination. It has been stressed, I will say, that the facade wall on 3rd Street is, I think, important. No different than what Spooky Nook did on Mill 1, where they preserved the facade wall, even though they did not preserve the entire building. But when you drive down what Sam Byler calls the B Street Canyon, it looks the same today as it did 100 years ago. And they know that, at the very least, that facade wall is very important. And whatever buildings have structural integrity and can be repurposed, they know that it's our desire to see that happen.
Okay, good, thank you.
Other questions or comments? This is like a real domino effect of repurposing, new development, keeping an eye as well as on the historical properties that are in the area.
It was interesting. I was talking to someone this morning about MOK / North 3rd Street, that corridor from the High Street intersection to the Black Street Bridge. And 13 years ago when I started as city manager, I don't recall a single conversation about people talking about this as a desirable area for development or redevelopment. Matter of fact, when I think my very first day on the job, I was told that the vision for that area was to put a conveyor belt from what's known as the Little Italy neighborhood over North 3rd Street to take coal from a coal pile and convey it over to the power plant. And also the other vision I heard when I started was what is now part of the 3rd Street, what we call the North 3rd Street parking lot for Spooky Nook, was to turn that into a trash to energy site. That was like the two big visions for that corridor. So I'm happy those actually never materialized, because I think the investment that we're going to see at this and other developments is certainly better suited for the citizens.
Great.
Joshua, thank you for building the relationships that we talked about that were strategic in bringing this opportunity to Hamilton. So to you and your team, congratulations.
Well, team gets a lot of credit. I mean, I would be remiss. Tom Vanderhorst, truly, his ability to work with the developers and understand the finance side of these deals has been absolutely critical. Jody Gunderson and his economic development team are solid as always, but the entire executive leadership team, I mean, they probably get sick of hearing about these projects sometimes, but they've all participated in some form or fashion. So I mean, it's truly team efforts to get these done, and to have a developer with the gravitas of a Crawford Hoying, I think, is just truly a feather in our cap. That they are very well known throughout the state of Ohio, or doing projects in Charlotte, North Carolina, and other locations. I mean, I'm thrilled that they have an interest in Hamilton, Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you.